Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, if you buy the Sonic the Hedgehog Movie 3 DLC, Keanu Reeves' voice will be added to this podcast. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I'm always joined, by my co-host, Conner McCabe. We've got a good show for you this week. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including Virtual Boy emulators on Switch, in one form or fashion. And then on Thursday, Mark and I are ranking the Super Mario Brothers games. But in the meantime, please welcome to the show, actor, improviser, comedian, host of the Call Me By Your Game podcast, and co-founder of the Super NPC Radio Network, Conner McCabe is here.
Patrick, happy Nintendo Fall.
Happy Nintendo Fall to you, too.
Thank you so much.
Happy new console revelation season. It must be happening.
We're in there. I'm feeling like my body has been through the situation before where we've gotten into October and I've seen a trailer for a new Nintendo console. So it doesn't mean it's coming back, but my body's ready for that.
Right. Well, because your body, the body, first of all, keeps score,
yes,
as we all know.
Mm-hmm.
But it is October 8 years ago is when we first got a taste of the Switch.
Bonkers.
So I was looking back through our show's archives, and our first episode was from October 11th, 2016.
Wow.
So, and the name of that episode was No More NX Rumors, because that's what we thought, that's what the thing was being called at that point. That was a code name, the NX.
Yes.
And we, I think by our third episode, we had something to talk about, like the Switch had been revealed by that point.
I think there's only one thing to do in about a couple episodes, Patrick. And
What's that?
I think you need to title the episode No More Switch Successor Rumors.
I mean, it seems like that should be this episode.
dangle the worm out in front of the whale?
Yeah,
Fish?
sure.
What are we trying to catch here?
Oh boy, what are we trying to catch? We're trying to catch like a nice, juicy teaser video, right? 2.5 minutes long, maybe 2:45.
Yes.
And with some games. Ooh, some games.
Games, features, some attractive but ultimately lifeless people.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure I'll recognize some of them from casting offices around Los Angeles going out for commercials. Very exciting time, and I know it's come up on the show a bunch. I can't say when I'm confident we will see something, whether it is this fall or early next year. But I'm just eager and ready. But also, I'm not in a rush either.
Sure. I mean, we'll get to it because there's some
Yes.
there's some Switch 2 rumory stuff later on in the news. But in the meantime, Connor, I just want to tell people about Patreon, patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society. You can go there if you'd like to support the show. And if you're doing so at the 8-bit or 16-bit levels, you get access to our once-a-month episodes of miniseries that we do. We're currently making our way through Season 2 of NCS Arcade, where we are playing. The goal originally was to play games on Nintendo Switch Online that Mark and I have not beaten. After one season of that, we decided we needed to broaden the definition a little bit. So the game that we are playing for September, and I know you're saying, Patrick, isn't it October? Where's the September episode? It's coming. Okay, Mark's been out of town. But so the episode that we are doing for September is Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, which is available on the Castlevania. Oh boy, what is the name of that collection? It's like Dominus Collection.
Oh, couldn't tell. The new collection.
The new collection from Konami. So if you want to play along with us there, you certainly can. We'll be following that up with a sort of listener feedback episode, which is available to anyone who follows us on Patreon, whether it is at a level where you are paying money or not. So feel free to email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com with your thoughts, feelings about Castlevania Dawn of Sorrow, and we will include them in that feedback episode that, again, everyone has access to.
All you gotta do is just hit the subscribe button at a free tier. I'm pretty sure,
tier. Yeah.
as someone who patronizes multiple establishments on Patreon, you don't even have to put in a credit card for the free tier.
You don't have to. But if you want to give us a call with your credit card number, we can just hang on to that for you.
I think it's worth it.
I don't know what this bit is where I'm stealing people's credit card information. It's not good. I don't like it. And I think that's it. Our Discord, if you would like to be on the Discord, Connor, you're in the Discord, of course. You should email us, Nintendo Cartridge Society @gmail.com, and I will send you an invitation. Last little plug for me, and then Connor, if you have anything that you'd like to plug before we dig in, is that, of course, my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle source book that I wrote is out in comic book stores now. Issues 1 through 4 are all out there. It's going to be collected into a big, fat 400-page volume, I think early next year. So very excited about that. Connor, anything you'd like to plug before we jump into what we've been playing?
I'll echo this at the end of the show, but
Mhm.
you should, if you're listening to this and you like hearing me talk about games with our buddy Patrick, check out my podcast. Call Me by Your Game wherever you get your shows. If you like, sweetness, video games, trips down memory lane, it's a great biographical show featuring just a ton of great people on it. And I had something I wanted to throw your way, Patrick.
Oh, okay,
really
yeah.
quick. Since you are doing, well, first of all, the Discord, hop in the NCS Discord,
Yeah.
folks.
It's a good
On
time.
top of that,
Mhm.
Patrick knows, and some of the people in there will know that I level list. So when these rankings happen, I've already got mine prepped and ready to go to post on the latest episode channel,
Mhm.
because there are multiple channels in this Discord.
That's right.
Patrick, I wanted to throw out to you,
Yes.
can I give you can I rank 5 Super Mario games from this list, a random 5?
Okay.
So like I won't do 1 through 5 necessarily, but maybe I'll give you.
But it'll be somewhere like in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Wanna
yeah.
hear?
So you have your list of Super Mario Brothers games.
I've
Okay.
got, and for me, I've listed, this is all of the platformers.
Yes.
Okay. So
Which I believe Mark and I have not set definitive terms for what we're doing,
Yes.
but I believe it's going to be all of the, like, I think Super Mario Land 2 is going to be included.
Yes.
Like I think we're doing everything.
I love it. Yeah, you could. I've heard shows that have separated them, but because I've been through this exercise before, I'll just throw this out there to you. And again, you and the listener have no idea where this ranking
So
falls.
much suspense
You'll find
here.
out on Thursday.
Oh my gosh.
So the first one I'll list here is Super Mario Galaxy, followed by Super Mario 3D World.
Are you going better or worse?
I'm going in descending order. So,
Okay.
So in this list, Galaxy tops this 5 that I've chosen.
Okay, so Galaxy is the top.
Yes.
Okay. And then
so we
below
have,
that.
Super Mario Galaxy, Super Mario 3D World,
Uh-huh.
Super Mario Brothers 2,
Okay.
Super Mario Brothers Wonder,
Okay.
and then New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe.
Whoa.
Now, where those 5 fall, and those are sequential in my
Right.
list, you're just gonna have to find out on
Oh
Thursday.
my gosh, what a tease. I'm not even going to venture a guess because it could be 1 through 5. It could be like 8 through 13.
That's the beauty of it.
It's a beauty. That's Connor. That's the beauty.
Mm.
All right, let's get into what we've been playing this week because it feels like it's been a good week. Connor, I've been playing The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. I am through the 3rd, I believe, dungeon at this point.
Ooh.
And I'm loving this game. I know that there's like a sentiment out there about like why doesn't this perform better,
Yes.
right? And I'm playing like both on the TV and on handheld, sort of like swapping back and forth. And I notice that it gets a little framey when I'm out in the overworld and I'm playing on TV. But I played the Link's Awakening remake, so this can't hurt me. And it kind of like it's not bothering me at all. I'm just having a fun time playing this game. I see you have it on your list of games that you've been
Yes.
playing. How far in have you gotten to this point?
I would guess about 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
I wasn't able to pick it up this weekend until Sunday, and when a Zelda game comes out and I don't have it in my hands on day of,
Yeah.
you know I'm a busy boy.
You're a busy bee.
Thank you.
Buzz.
I really appreciate that. So I picked it up Sunday, and I really didn't get to play it until I think I put about 40 straight minutes in today.
Yeah.
And only because I wanted to leave to get a little exercise before I ate dinner and then came over here for this episode. I stopped playing, but I'll tell you, immediately hooked. I also stayed away from as much as I could about this game. I wasn't watching update videos. I
Yeah.
wasn't watching the entertaining and fun information that gets leaked out up to release. So
Or even put out intentionally by Nintendo to
exactly.
try to
Oh
entice
yeah,
you to play it.
that's more of what I was even
Yeah.
referring to, despite saying leak. But
You did say leak, which words have meanings.
especially in the video game context. But I'm really thinking I'm gonna love this game. I'm already enjoying it so much. I would like to know from you,
Yeah.
being about 3 or so dungeons in,
Mhm.
what's an early impression from you?
So, the early impression from me is that I really like the way the game treats combat.
Sure.
Because Zelda, unless you are, it becoming like a like sword fighter version of herself, which you can do like only momentarily, right? You have to really find creative ways to approach bosses or other like more challenging combat scenarios because she just has no like direct way to deal damage to guys. And it's just like I get to approach every situation kind of differently. And there is a so the third dungeon is like a water temple.
Mm.
And you learn a shark echo who is so much fun to summon because he's
Ooh.
a maniac and he just chomps guys and I love it. But like like everything like that is just so kind of like rewarding and interesting that like you have a million different ways that you can approach just about any scenario. And that does mean that like sometimes you sort of like slouch into the same solution over and over again.
Yes.
But like I don't know about you, whenever I play a game and I get a new move or a new item or whatever, my first instinct is to equip it and try it, right?
Mm.
So when I learn a new echo, my first impulse is to use it in the very next encounter I can
Yeah.
and see how useful it is. And it means that I'm just like swapping these things out all the time and like trying new tactics basically everywhere I go. And even when I land on something that's very effective, I can't be certain that that's how I'm going to approach the next identical combat encounter because it's just kind of fun to mess around with it.
Yeah, it's fun to mess around. I felt that it's so early on. To give you even more context on my playthrough, I very much just did, and this is so early on. I feel like it's safe to say,
Yep,
but
say it, Connor.
I just acquired the sword fighter
Yes.
ability. I paused it, put the switch to sleep. That was the last thing I
Right.
did. Even leading up to that, I was having fun experimenting, and I also was already kind of getting in grooves of like what I would sort of lead with.
Yes.
Like, I don't know what's going to be in this room, but I might have my little, I think they're called a rope, the snake.
Yes.
They're for some reason called a rope. I'll have that equipped because those are generally pretty quick to get to someone, but sometimes they're ineffective.
Right.
Whether an
right.
enemy has armor or a shield is in front of it. So I
or
love.
the enemy is spiky or something, it's just going to take your snake out right
Yes.
away. Rope.
Yes. I might distract someone with an enemy, a bat, and then run around and throw a rock at them.
Yep,
I'm just
yep.
having a jolly old time.
That bat is called the Keys. One of the things that I love
Oh!
about about the this game in the way it handles these echoes is that it forces you to deal with the bizarre names that Zelda characters have. Like when you're playing basically any other Zelda game, you're dealing with moblins and pea-hats and keys and ropes and whatever. But it's only really in this one where you have to see their name over and over again as you're selecting them
Yes.
for the echoes. Where you're just like, why do they call these things this?
Big time. I never knew the rope thing until this game.
Yeah, and they've been called that since like the first one. So it's just a good dumb Nintendo stuff.
Wow.
But yeah, so you got that sword fighter ability, which means that you had to do this little like duel with Dark Link.
Yes.
Which like light spoiler, that's not the last one of those you'll have.
Ooh.
So and each one is like progressively more difficult and like a little bit more involved. Where you're like, oh, okay, I got to like really figure out how to distract this guy and then like get the drop on him. And I've only done 2. I'm certain there's a third one at least coming up. And that second one I thought was just an absolute blast, like trying to figure out different ways to get the drop on Link, who is normally me when I play these games. It's just I don't know, it's very enticing.
Absolutely.
And then the other thing that I wanted to say about Echoes of Wisdom is that after doing the third temple, I allowed myself some unstructured exploration time. I'd been kind of going not directly to the next objective, but like more or less, right? Like
Yeah.
following the path. And I was giving myself this opportunity to just like kind of explore. I found the stables, I got a horse, and I started collecting a lot of heart container pieces
Yes.
and mighty crystals, so I can that you use that to level up your like sword fighter ability.
Okay.
And so like just the when the whole overworld becomes like a huge nebulous puzzle to solve with these nebulous tools, I think is where the game shines the most.
Mm.
And I feel like this is true in a lot of Zelda games, especially like the 2D ones where the world is kind of more exciting than the dungeons are. I think the dungeons in this game are good, but that's just means that the overworld itself can be even more like alive and interesting and better. So I was loving that. Like that's where I was really enjoying the game before, and then it like took off when I was just like going out into the world and just like exploring, finding what I can find.
I hope that's some affirmation, Patrick, for you to just let yourself have some unstructured free time on occasion.
Yeah, well, yes, it is. It is. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will take that advice broadly to not just be about The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. What else have we been playing this week, Connor? I just want to touch on this briefly. So on your radio network, you've started doing. You've been releasing old games clubs,
Yes.
which are like a book club style discussion of a game, like chunk by chunk by chunk. So it's not one episode about a game; it's like a dozen episodes about a single game.
Some have said too many.
Some have said too many, but that's okay, because that is like games are so big, right? And for the most part, the only like vehicle we have for like talking about them or like hearing or like watching or listening to anything about them is as a single unit, right? That's like what a game review or a game discussion is. And that's like you play a game for like 20 hours, right? That's like a normal length of a game, and then someone talks about it for even 90 minutes. You're like, that's not enough,
Yeah.
right? So I've been enjoying as these things have been posted onto the Games Club free feed, and the Pokemon like Gen 1 Games Club just started posting on that free feed, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play along.
All right.
So I'm playing Pokemon Red on my 3DS.
Yes.
Which I'm also using as a bit of a. I'm trying not to look at Twitter anymore. That it is a real like discipline thing for me of like. So I need to replace it, especially when I'm out and about.
Yes.
And so the 3DS travels nicely. And so when I'm like standing in line waiting for something, I don't pull out my phone, pull out the 3DS. I catch a couple Mon.
It's
I level up a little bit.
It's like 2013 again. This is fantastic.
How is it like 2013?
Just pulling out a
Pulling out
3DS in
yeah.
public. But I
I
love hearing this, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the series. I love those Games Club series. And I'm excited to see just what your journey's like in the original Pokemon. I'm sorry. You said Red? Was
Yes,
the version
Red.
you're playing.
Yes.
Okay, great.
Red is the version that is on my 3DS already. I bought Red and Crystal before the shop shut down.
Great, yeah.
So I may roll this into Crystal. Who knows? I may not even finish Red, knowing how I am with Pokemon. But I was getting my car washed. I was getting Sarah's car washed on Saturday. And the guy at the car wash saw the 3DS and was like, "Whoa, old school." Yeah, okay. I know I'm old, but that made me feel old, Connor.
Yeah, gosh, this is still feels like modern enough technology.
It
But
did to me, but it's.
Ugh.
I mean, I get it, right? 8 years ago, the Switch was revealed.
Yeah,
So
like I'd probably call it a Game Boy anyway. So
right,
Yeah.
right. And I was playing a Game Boy game on it, so
To be
like
fair,
he
yeah.
had me pegged. He knew what was up. Connor, what else have you been playing?
I've been playing you're talking about an old games club we did at Super NPC Radio. But our current games club is we're covering Death Stranding.
Right.
And
so you really like it's the gamut of experience from Pokemon Red to Death Stranding.
Yes, it's all over the place at the network. Where we let our we set up the category that we're going to be, the theme of the club. We nominate 5 or so games, and the patrons vote, and they voted on Death Stranding. I'm on chapter 3 of this game, and I'll, as someone who really enjoys Kojima nonsense. I'm loving this game.
Go good.
I
You're eating well.
I'm eating very well. I'm so into it. I was talking to a friend I hadn't seen in a while recently, my good friend Jake, and he was explaining this game to his wife as we were trying to like just keep her involved in the conversation and not just monopolize it. And he said it's a game that tries so hard to get you to not like it, and yet I still love it. And he did too. So I'm enjoying that. It's a whole can of worms. And then outside of that, I had something else I was playing. Of course, I'm playing a point and click adventure on my PC. I'm playing Broken Age, which is a Double Fine point and click. Very traditional LucasArts style.
What directed you towards Broken Age?
This is a game by Tim Schafer,
Yes,
who I've become a really big fan of over the last year. Designer of Grim Fandango, the Psychonauts series, which you know I enjoy, and the game.
And you just played through Psychonauts 2.
Just played through Psychonauts 2, and the game that I'm working on with some friends currently is essentially a classic point and click comedy adventure. I had been wanting to play this for a while, so I threw it in my cart. It was on sale, and now I'm like halfway through it. It's gorgeous. Music's beautiful. And I think as far as a point and click adventure, almost halfway through it, it's very accessible. And some of those old games, like, I don't know, do you have experience with like the old LucasArts Monkey Islands or Indiana Jones, Fate of Atlantis style stuff?
No, not really. The most I was actually just looking it up because I wanted to make sure I got the title right.
Ooh.
The adventure game that I spent the most time with is, of course, one of the early Telltale games, Strong Bad's Cool Game for Attractive People.
That sounds
The Homestar Runner game.
so up my alley. By the way, the Back to the Future one, I don't know if you have a computer with a disk drive, but I still have that game on disk.
I do not. Oh, you know what? Yes, I do at work.
Well, if you ever want to play it,
Maybe I
you
will.
hit me up.
Maybe I will.
I've just grown to really love this genre, and it's this game. I've heard that later in the game it gets a little more clunky and a little less. It's just great. I think was grating on people later in the game, but so far I'm loving it, and I just can't speak highly enough. If you like the genre.
Well, very cool.
Yeah.
All right, Connor, that's what we've been playing this week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week. Thursday, October 3rd, Picrosss, Records of the Shield Hero comes out on Switch. Records of the Shield Hero, it looks to me like is an anime of some kind.
Okay.
So this is a Picrosss game that is being developed by the name it's escaped me now, but it's the studio that makes all of them, Jupiter, on Switch. So it's like a mainline Picrosss game just themed to this anime that I've never heard of.
Nice. And are you going to be picking it up?
I don't. So here's the thing. There are just like numbered Picrosses that I don't have.
Mm-hmm.
It takes me longer to like exhaust a Picross game than it does for them to make a new Picross game. So there are a bunch of just like the regular vanilla numbered ones that I should pick up before this one, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. There's something fun about them being themed to something specific. Like I've been playing the Bandai Namco one, which is great, even though I don't recognize most of the sprites. Just every now and then I'm like, that's Pac-Man.
Yes.
That's Indy Borgnine from Mystery Tower. You know that the name of the hero in that game is Indy Borgnine?
No, I didn't.
Isn't
until
that great?
now. Yeah, that's something.
Indy Borgnine. But so yeah, I probably won't be checking that out. And then on Friday, October 4th, the SpongeBob SquarePants The Patrick Star game is out. We just wanted to highlight that because it was mentioned on the recent Nintendo Partner Showcase.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are into SpongeBob SquarePants, but a show and a phenomenon that I feel like I missed entirely.
Being a kid, that I remember when SpongeBob showed up in my life, in many of our lives, in 1999
when
on
SpongeBob
Nickelodeon.
revealed himself to you.
Yes. Out of the shrink wrap of the sponge packaging. I love this series as a kid. I don't think I have touched a single SpongeBob game in my life. Not Battle for Bikini Bottom, not Revenge of the Flying Dutchman. This one, if I'm remembering it correctly, I thought of it as the SpongeBob Katamari because Patrick flops around in this one.
Yeah, so
Like-
it looked to me, because it was also, I'm saying this, but I actually don't think I'm not sure if this is right. I think it was in the same presentation as a like Goat Simulator 3 like
Possibly.
trailer, which that it seems like it is also a like kind of intentionally janky physics based.
Okay.
Patrick runs around and like bad stuff happens.
Yes.
Except you're doing it in Bikini Bottom. So yeah, that was my read on it as well. That it's kind of just like a free reign chaos simulator.
Yeah, with just like you said, a lot like a sort of an emphasis on physics. So
Yeah.
yeah, I will not be picking this game up, but I would like to sit down with the controller for 5 minutes and flop around as Patrick.
Yeah. So someone else needs to pick this thing up. Is what
Someone else,
I'm hearing.
Jeremy Schmidt, are you hearing me?
Jeremy Schmidt. Look, so Jeremy creates little drops for all of us for every year on
Video games,
a comedy show.
Yeah.
And every year he uses a clip of SpongeBob yelling Patrick's name in my drop.
Mm-hmm.
And I have asked him to not do that next time. But we'll see.
I think he's going to forget or ignore that request.
I think he's probably going to ignore it. I think it's going to be all SpongeBob next time. But Connor, we are perilously close to that new Mario Party coming out. Super Mario Party Jamboree comes out on the 17th, I believe. You're kind of a Mario Party boy.
I can enjoy them from time to time. Yes, absolutely. I strangely never picked up Superstars, but I have played a decent amount of it with some friends who own it.
Yeah.
Love Superstars. Super Mario Party, I was lukewarm to positive on. Didn't love it, but I liked it enough.
Did you play the river rafting mode?
I can't remember.
Okay, Connor.
Is it good?
Yeah, it's like the best thing Mario Party's ever done.
Hey, maybe I'll change my tune on this game that I own.
But you need to have 4 people playing it together.
Okay.
That's otherwise it doesn't. Yeah.
Maybe that was the issue.
It's tough to do.
Yeah. But I am generally enjoy a Mario Party for sure.
Well, we will talk about that more in the future. Connor, let's close out the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. In 1952, American composer John Cage wrote a piece called 433, wherein a performer or a group of performers didn't play their instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds. For the purposes of this show, our instruments are talking about Nintendo. So, for the duration of one performance, 433, Connor and I will talk about something not at all Nintendo related, thus fulfilling the contract of the piece. It's October. We know it. Which means it's the spooky season. Ooh. So we're talking about things that we do to voluntarily scare ourselves. What spooky things do we engage in that we like? First of all, how do you feel about being scared?
It has really grown on me.
It has grown on you,
especially the last few years. I think as a kid, I would get a thrill out of like certain things that would scare me, whether it be walking through a haunted house or watching a scary movie. And then at a certain point, that disappeared, and I became overwhelmed by fear to where I would avoid scary things.
Yeah.
So I really like how you've set up this topic as voluntarily being scared, because now the last few years I've turned a new leaf.
Yeah, and so like, are you going to haunted houses?
Not going to haunted houses, definitely avoiding that. And I have been to Halloween Horror Nights. Like when I first moved out to LA, because I worked at Universal Studios.
Oh, sure.
So I got like a pass to go. Not my scene, but I will say now I have been getting in, especially the last 2 years specifically, more scary and horror movies than before. Sometimes things that are just like some of the classics, whether it's like the first Friday the 13th, or Nightmare on Elm Street, or
The Shining,
which I had actually seen that before by myself. I think I was doing some of the voluntarily scaring myself stuff. But the standout for me the last couple years, outside of Resident Evil 2 Remake, playing that at night in the dark, was watching Barbarian in my home alone in late October 22.
Oh, no.
Honestly, truly, one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Yeah.
It scared the ever-loving heck out of me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get enough. And it kind of ignited something to where I was like, ooh, I could use a smattering of this.
Yeah.
Not like diving in head first, but like starting to almost like acquire a taste for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Like I feel like as I have gotten older that I seek out being scared from media less.
Mm,
Um and I still have like my old standby favorites. I love me a Resident Evil. Like I'm never gonna say no to a Resident, like those games can never get so scary that they I mean, I didn't play like 7 in VR, right?
sure.
Like I'll draw a line there, but also because like there's something just innately scary about putting on a VR
Mhm.
headset where you're like, if something happens in the world, I don't perceive it.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, it's like I usually don't go to like horror movies at like in the theater. Although I did see the new Alien movie in theaters, and that's got some like good like scary, gross out kind of stuff, especially towards the end.
Mhm.
Um, I was also kind of sick when we went, so I had like a little bit of a coughing fit, like leading into um, the movie has sort of like a twist fourth act, like as
Oh.
it's like a normal like 3 act structure, and then it's like one more awful thing
Yes.
that is also like surprising and that you like don't really see coming, even though it's totally telegraphed. But so like right before that, I had this little coughing fit, had to excuse myself from the theater, came back and was just like hanging out by the door as like the most tense thing in Alien Romulus was happening, and that was cool and felt very like scary and unmooring.
Mm.
But like I don't know, I used to like in high school. The drama club used to do a haunted house that like I participated in. It was like
Wow.
part of transforming the gym into this like maze of like different rooms and stuff. And I really liked doing that. But man, I think I would hate going through one of those.
Just knowing that someone is gonna jump out in
Someone's
front of
gonna jump
me
out.
or reach out and get. It's more of the like the surprise that makes it
Right.
awful. At least in like a sort of a walking through
Yeah.
a space scenario.
Yes.
And so don't get me wrong, surprise can be scary watching something, but it's just different in person where you're like, oh, I don't want this person to see me get scared.
Well, that's part of it, is that like you don't know how you're going to react.
Yes.
Right. And like there there was a when I was a child. Oh no! I'm gonna finish this anecdote.
Please,
But
please.
when I was a child, we had gone to Disney World, and we were in the caves in Tom Sawyer's Island,
Mm.
and I thought it was funny to like I would just like bark like with this like "Ruff." And so I did this, and some like older gentleman like turned around and was like, hey, like I was screwing around, so he was screwing around with me. And I was like 11 or something, and he startled me so much that I like swung at him. And it was just like, well, like I don't,
Yes.
what do you do? Like that's an involuntary response. Like someone like kind of like dashed towards me, and I
Yes.
took a swing. I don't want to. If I'm in a haunted house,
Oh, I don't want that accidentally
I
happening.
don't. I don't want that to accidentally
And that
happen.
was your first and last punch you ever threw?
Yeah, it was. Well, I legally can't anymore, because of the manslaughter. All right. We were accompanied today by pianist Kyle Shaw. Connor, let's get into the news. This one is less a news item and more just a let's talk about this. Switch 2 rumors are out of control. Whenever I aggregate the news for these episodes, or when Mark and I do it, we go to our old standbys, and we figure out if there are things that we want to talk about, and then I usually do just a blanket Google search for Nintendo news, and that search now results in hundreds of AI generated articles that are all different variations on this tiny feature is rumored to be part of the successor to the Nintendo
Mhm.
Switch. Things like bumper buttons that are like rollers, to all kinds of other weird, dumb stuff. And I've decided, Connor, that I can't give credence to any of these things anymore.
So what you're saying is
I'm saying no more Switch 2 rumors
okay, very good.
until they are like, here's the thing, not no more, but no like wanton chasing of rumors and like fake leaks and stuff like that.
Yes.
And I feel like we've been pretty disciplined about that on the show so far anyway, about not chasing like poorly sourced, whatever. But just want to make I want to acknowledge that there will be like 10 more things that come up by tomorrow morning. And we're just not gonna. We have no ability to address them here.
Yep.
And also, what's the value in it?
Yeah. Kind of what this is a completely different perspective. I don't have not a maybe you have a responsibility to report on stuff like this as a Nintendo podcaster, but because I don't have that sort of responsibility, kind of like in a similar way to the lead up of Echoes of Wisdom, I'm mostly staying away from stuff.
Right.
If something has popped up in front of me, I have seen rumors, I have seen mock-ups,
Right.
But I also am kind of not seeking that out, so I just see a little less of it. But yeah, so does it feel like there has just been kind of what you said, like a flurry of things as soon as like a single breadcrumb is noticed?
So I think because those mock-ups were like evaluated by
It wasn't Digital Foundry.
It was Digital Foundry, yes. That they were like, this is probably right.
Mm-hmm.
That now just the appetite is there. And since you can write articles via AI, that like I think that's just what's happening. And it's like drown out everything because people are now actually hungry for it. It's reached that critical mass where the market for it is big enough that just slop is being served, and we're gobbling it up like little piggies. But moving on from that, the Nintendo Museum, which we Nintendo Museum opened, so there's some Nintendo Museum stuff here in the news. The museum features a playable Virtual Boy display, which is exciting that they are acknowledging the much maligned and appropriately maligned system. But perhaps more exciting is that the display is actually emulated on Switch, theoretically meaning that Nintendo has done the work to get these games running on the hardware that's in everyone's home right now. So first of all, just reactions to that. Connor, if you want to play Virtual Boy games, you can do it at the Nintendo Museum.
It may be the only time I ever do it. Unless I put on Hearn's old dusty Virtual Boy someday that he doesn't even have himself.
Wait, is it like back with his parents?
It's back in the Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, yes. Too far away.
I know.
I had a Virtual Boy. I wish I hadn't gotten rid of it.
How were you to know that there'd be
How was I to know?
A curiosity again?
The thing is, I liked it at the time. Like,
wow.
I liked Mario Clash. I liked the Wario Land. Even like the Mario Tennis game, I liked a fair amount. Tellero Boxer, of course. And then another game that I can't talk about because you and Drew said that we can't talk about that character anymore. But let's just say he's a funky bowler. Yes, but I never had funky bowling. But so yeah, I should have known at that point.
Sure. My biggest reaction, I think, to this is that I don't know, it makes me feel a little happy having. I couldn't have less of an emotional tie to this console. I do have certainly a curiosity to try one at some point. But it makes me hopeful that Nintendo truly hasn't forgot about it, isn't brushing it under the rug rug.
Could be under the rug,
or putting it in a closet forever to never see.
Under the ROG Ally, that like handheld. It's like right?
I don't know what that is. Well, I'm encouraged.
I was just flailing. I was just drowning. And I was like, Connor, help me.
Yes. You threw a life raft out to me, and I pulled you back into the water.
Yeah. Right. No, the ROG or ROG Ally is one of those like it's not like a Steam Deck, but it's kind of like a Steam Deck.
One of the many like handheld. Yeah. Okay. Yes. Well, I'll be looking it up.
So it was under that.
Okay. Yes.
Under the rug.
Thankfully, they didn't throw it under one of those. So yeah, it just makes me hopeful that this thing will get its moment in the sun, or at some point, where this trail kind of leads us is to
right. So it's being emulated on the Switch, right? Which what else is being emulated on the Switch? The NSO classic console libraries. Next year would be the 30th anniversary of the Virtual Boy. Connor, is there any chance that library comes to the Switch, maybe with some like bizarre peripheral that you can only buy from your My Nintendo account that you slot the
oh my goodness
the Switch into? Oh man, if they sell a Virtual Boy controller, I'm toast.
What does that even look like? The bottom half of the Virtual Boy?
No, well, so the Virtual Boy controller it's got two handles, right?
Oh, yes, yes, yes.
And then two D-pads, a D-pad left side, D-pad right side, and then the start and select buttons are the same like shape and layout as the A and B buttons, just on the other side. And then that's also where the battery pack for the whole system was
Yes.
was on the back of the controller.
I think they are going to sell these, and you're going to really want the Japanese version as well.
I think it was the same in Japan.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Not like the Famicom, but I don't know.
No.
This could be exciting, and I'll just take a positive stance and say perhaps this will happen someday. Maybe next year, like you said, the 30th anniversary.
30th anniversary would be the time to do it, right? All right. In interviews around the opening of the Nintendo Museum, Shigeru Miyamoto shared his perspective on Nintendo's role in the technology arms race in the console video game space. He said, quote, "I believe the most important thing for various people to visit this museum and come away thinking, Nintendo is a company that is not at all related to the game industry competition or cutting edge technology that people usually talk about. Of course, we conduct technology research. In the past, analysts and others have said things like, why isn't Nintendo focused on networking? What about mobile? Why aren't you using cutting edge chips? However, if people calmly look at the exhibits, they'll realize that we've actually been working on those things all along. But Nintendo has a history of waiting for the right moment to release products, only commercializing them when we believe the timing is perfect. I think that becomes clear through the museum, and it helps build trust in Nintendo. For our shareholders as well, this serves as a kind of mid to long term perspective, showing that they can trust us to manage the company properly." Thoughts about his statement about their space in the console wars, as it were.
I think that there are a few things in here that are, oh, well, this is something that many of us have maybe been already had our minds made up
Yeah,
about Nintendo, which makes a lot of sense. Yeah, we've for years now since the last time they tried to compete on a power scale
yeah.
was arguably the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
So that there's a lot of here that I've already said that we kind of understand, but I also think there may be a little bit of framing by Miyamoto here
Totally, yeah.
of like, well, why didn't they try to get in here? It's like, well, you were in the mobile space for a while, but overall,
Right.
I'll say that I don't know. This feels kind of consistent for them and
It
true,
does.
relatively true.
Yeah. What's interesting is like, it's tempting to say that like what Nintendo is always kind of like focused on like the experience, right? That like are you having fun, right?
Hmm.
Is their product something that like allows you to have fun? And asking about like why aren't you on mobile? Why aren't you using cutting edge chips? That kind of stuff is like we didn't find that to be fun. But the statement why is Nintendo focused on networking? I assume he means like internet stuff and like online gaming, right?
Yeah.
And that is a place where like Nintendo has basically not competed, right?
Hmm.
Like at all, and kind of to their detriment, right?
Hmm.
Like Smash, Animal Crossing, even Splatoon would be better with better online infrastructure, and for whatever reason, they're like, we put that in the technology category and not the like experience category, even though I feel like it is something that holds them back.
Yeah, it's got that has a foot in both camps almost.
Yeah,
But to their credit as well, I think that there is a lot of truth here as far as like, the way he sort of characterized it is waiting for the right moment
right.
to release products. And it does feel like they've always, at least from an outside perspective, had a focus on innovation, which is one thing that I think when I pull back the curtain a little bit that I love about them, and so
Yeah.
many others do. But yeah, just they're a different breed.
Then also on the subject of generative AI, Miyamoto says, it might seem like we are just going the opposite direction for the sake of going in the opposite direction, but it really is trying to find what makes Nintendo special. There's a lot of talk about AI, for example. When that happens, everyone starts to go in the same direction, but that is where Nintendo would rather go in a different direction. So he's saying we're not interested in pursuing AI at the moment.
Yeah, which this thing he says too about everyone going in a direction. I feel like the last few years there's been a lot of that.
Totally.
It's just easy stuff to see trends like this, whether it was Bitcoin,
NFTs, yeah.
blockchain,
Mhm.
NFTs. Now, even walking into Best Buy the other day to buy Echoes of Wisdom, like every advertisement has slapped on it, like, "Oh, you're gonna love this new Google thing with the best
Yeah, with
AI,"
AI,
and it's
everything.
like,
Yes.
I'm not asking for that.
No.
So it's just nice to know that at least from his mouth, they may be less tempted, if not tempted at all, to follow a trend like that, just
Yeah.
because it's like hot. So
Right, which is another like they're waiting for the right moment, right?
yeah,
Like if there is a use for AI for them, they'll get to it at some point,
true.
and maybe it'll suck, and maybe and maybe they'll find like a good way to implement it. But like, yeah, I think they're not beholden to like trends either of the video game industry or of technology in general, or even just of like products in general.
Hmm.
Nintendo like invents their own priorities for that stuff.
Yes.
Last week there was a Sonic Central. Did you catch the Sonic Central?
I didn't know
Okay,
this happened.
so it's like a 20-minute presentation of two guys from Sonic Team. And it's a goofy presentation. I recommend checking it out if you're at all interested. But they're detailing some of the ways that Sega is planning the Fearless Year of Shadow. It's them celebrating Shadow the Hedgehog as he's in the new Sonic movie
Mhm.
and the Sonic and Shadow Generations game that's coming out later this year. But there's a bunch of little announcements, but I think the most interesting thing is that there's DLC for Sonic and Shadow Generations, which is like tied into the movie, which adds Keanu Reeves' voice as Shadow the Hedgehog to the game. So he's playing Shadow in the movie. They have this DLC where you can buy his voice to be in the game.
Yeah. Man, I'd be so bummed out if I was the game voice actor of
Oh,
Shadow. I'd
absolutely.
just be like, gosh, they just pressing a button and I'm getting replaced by Keanu.
But I mean,
But
if you got to be replaced by anyone,
yeah, not bad. And I mean, honestly, I could see this being a reason that people who buy that game would maybe buy the DLC for
yeah,
that Sonic build.
yeah. Well, and it's very it's interesting to me that they have this like synergistic DLC plan because
Mhm.
like that's the software in the movies like speaking to each other and working hand in hand,
Yes.
which is not something that Nintendo's doing.
Mm-mm.
And they've only put out the one movie to this point, but like the Super Mario Brothers movie had no reflection in the games whatsoever.
Yes.
And it's just like why not?
Yeah.
And it just they seem like they're different machines on different tracks, but maybe Sonic has been like Sonic and Sega have been in this realm for so long
Mm,
that they're a little bit more agile in that department, and really able to leverage something exciting like Keanu Reeves being in their new movie.
definitely could be.
So what do you think? Are we gonna get a patch to have Jack Black voice Bowser in in Super Mario Odyssey or something?
Yeah, I think it's, if not Odyssey, definitely Wonder. So every time you
Sure,
hear him,
right.
it's just gonna be Jack Black's voice just yelling at you.
Who do you think? So at some point we got to get a Bowser Jr. in these Mario movies, right?
Yeah.
Who's that gonna be?
Oh, I haven't I thought about this before.
I have a pitch.
I'm listening.
Aziz Ansari.
I think that's perfect. I,
Let's unsoft cancel him.
yeah.
Get
Well,
him back.
yeah. That is pretty
And
fun.
he can do Bowser Jr.
Would be even whinier. Oh, that's good.
It would be
I
good.
don't even have a pitch after that. That's too perfect.
A little over a week ago, Nintendo submitted a new wireless device for approval to the FCC. The product is designation CLO001, which implies that it is the first of its kind and not like an iteration on an existing product. For reference, Switch was HAC001, the DS was NTR001. So, Connor, what is this thing? It's tagged as a wireless device and not a wireless gaming console, which means this is not the Switch 2, and it's not labeled as a controller, so it's not a controller.
Mhm.
In the recent memory, when Nintendo has filed these things with the FCC, they've turned out to be like the NES controllers for the Switch or
Yeah.
whatever. But so these are not tagged to be controllers. It is not a wearable piece of tech. This is all the stuff that we can get from the filing. Okay?
Yes.
It's not worn on the body, and it does not have a battery, meaning that it needs to either be plugged in or hard connected to another device in order to be running. It also doesn't have Bluetooth or 5 or 6 gigahertz Wi-Fi radio. It does include 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi radio and 24 gigahertz millimeter wave sensor, which is the interesting or specific part of this, because that has led to speculation that what it does is it sort of tracks movement, or it has some sort of other spatial awareness. So it, like, if you put it in a room, that it's like the IR sensor on your Joy-Con or something like that. Obviously, we don't know anything else about this product or what it connects to or ties to, or
I know what it connects to. Connect. Switch Connect.
Okay, Switch Connect.
Just a bit.
we don't actually want Switch Connect. But yeah, what do you make of this, Connor? This is a weird one. Could be nothing.
Even just reading this item before I came over today, I know the kind of work you do for these episodes and prepping so that you can understand what you are.
To the best of my ability. The Verge actually has a pretty good article breaking this down.
I can't even speculate. What could this be? This is going to be something I have like.
Yes.
I couldn't tell you.
Well, so I think one of the things that was very successful for Nintendo this last generation was Ring Fit Adventure, right? But Nintendo Switch Sports, both very high selling games, over 10 million each of them. And I think they need to have like the next fitness thing queued up for Switch 2. And so if it's a thing that can like track your motions, or it's not a wearable again, so like, it would have to like be plugged into your TV or something. But yeah, that my guess is that it is some sort of like, not Connect, but some sort of like kinetic reading thing where it's like sensing your position in the room, or something like that.
Yeah, it could be. And the day we see it,
yeah,
we're gonna know this.
We're gonna know that
talking about it.
It's CLO 001.
There it is. That's CLO 001.
People are calling it whatever it's called. Yes. We're like CLO 001, my heart. But yeah, just sort of an interesting little thing there.
Yeah, very. I know that it's tying into the Switch rumors and stuff, but another little breadcrumb.
Another little breadcrumb, yes. But also, why wouldn't it be like connecting to the Switch via like Bluetooth?
Nintendo.
And then finally, an update to my outrage last week about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge Radical Reptile DLC that was not actually available when they said it was going to be available. It seems that the trailer was accidentally published on Xbox's official YouTube page. So it was appropriately posted on other channels a couple days later, and now the Radical Reptile DLC is available. The point of clarification that was not in the Xbox trailer is that it will cost you money if you want to play as the two new playable characters, Mona Lisa and Mondo Gecko. It's $4. And there's no other real content around them. It's just new playable characters, but they're fun. You can use them in all game modes. And they have different color palettes too, just like the rest of the characters. And then, as mentioned before, there are new remixed music tracks that you do not have to pay any money for, featuring some darlings of the indie game development scene, including Jake Kaufman of Shovel Knight fame and Anna Monoguchi of Scott Pilgrim vs. the World fame. But so this is there. Connor, I picked this up. I played it for a little bit. Of course I did.
Oh, did you? Who did you use?
So I started out using Mondo because he has a skateboard with him. He's like part of what it's, cool. Old Bart Simpson in the Simpsons arcade game. And he's got a diving skateboard like aerial attack that he can like kind of infinitely like cross up like back and forth.
Oh wow.
Which is cool and fun, but there's something about him, either he takes too much damage or he's too slow or something. I die fast as Mondo.
Interesting.
And then I was playing as Mona Lisa, and she was a ton of fun. Uses her tail, she's throwing little like beakers and stuff around. It's I'm not super familiar with this version of the character because it's like the 87 animated version of Mona Lisa. But I'm much more a fan of her from the recent comics. But still fun to play as this other character.
That's cool. I'm surprised that like this early accidental trailer drop doesn't happen more often.
Yeah,
Like when
me too.
some like person who works for the company is I don't even know what position that would be, who is scheduling like a YouTube
Yep.
like release, like that they don't miss they screw up the dates more often.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you would think it would happen like especially because these things are like international,
Yeah.
and that it would just happen all the time.
It
And
felt like an anomaly almost.
it did.
Yeah.
Well, it's why it was so weird that they were like available now, and I was like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
This is very important to me for some reason, and it just was not available. Connor, did you play much Shredder's Revenge when it came out?
When
originally?
it came out,
Yeah.
yes. We didn't play it together.
I don't think we
kept
ever played it
thinking that
together.
we maybe had, because I played with a group of 6, 2 different Saturdays
so
in a row. We basically just did half the game one Saturday,
Right.
half the game the next, remotely, had a video chat going, and it was everything I wanted it to be those weekends. It was
So
great.
when you were playing it, there
Mhm.
were 7 playable characters, right? The original 6 and Casey Jones is an unlockable. So maybe y'all didn't have Casey at
I
that
don't
point.
think we did.
So it
Yeah,
was just like Splinter, April, and the 4 turtles.
exactly.
Well, so since then they've added 4 characters. So Usagi Yojimbo, the rabbit samurai,
Yes.
Karai,
Mhm.
Shredder's daughter, by some depending on the canon, and then Mondo and Mona Lisa.
Okay.
So if we could get that going again, we could get it going. So there's no turtles in the party whatsoever.
No turtles.
No turtles.
No turtles.
Mikey's still my favorite in there. He's so good. I
Aw.
like. Did you have a favorite character when you were playing, or is it just like whoever?
Well, growing up, I was like a Leonardo head through and through,
Yeah.
and then at a certain point, I became embarrassed about that because it wasn't cool to like Leo. But now, as an adult, I know I'm just such a gosh darn Leonardo. So now
Yeah.
I fully embrace it, and I love my guy.
Leo's my second favorite of the turtles to play in the game.
Oh, cool.
I think I rank them, if I'm just ranking the turtles,
Mhm.
just in Shredder's Revenge.
Okay.
Mikey number 1, Leo number 2,
Mhm.
Raph, and then Donnie.
Interesting. Yeah.
Donnie, I think, is my least favorite. I like that rabbit samurai, Usagi Yojimbo.
How could you not?
He's good.
He's
a rabbit.
rabbit.
He's a rabbit. All right, Connor, let's get out of the news. All right, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Connor, I almost said Nintendo Connor Society.
I heard it, and I was just about to yelp with joy.
What would you like to plug here as we are on our way out? You already mentioned Call Me By Your Game.
Yeah, my podcast, Call Me By Your Game. I basically sit down with a different friend every week and hear from them about a meaningful game from a particular moment in their life. And then if you're looking for a games club style, book club style podcast series as well, Patrick, I mean, he opened the door for it. But check out the Super NPC Games Club feed wherever you get podcasts. You can find it. We just did a whole series on Super Mario 64. We're into Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow right now. It's a 14-week journey. So if you're looking for an excuse to replay those games or just think about those games, check that feed. New episodes come out every Tuesday.
Also hearing that there been promised that people are also playing Let's Go Eevee and Fire Red.
Yes, and I'm pretty sure people drop off of both of those
Okay,
at a
great.
certain point in the series.
We can't count on Tyler in July to play an additional game in addition to the one that you were playing?
That is correct.
Okay, great.
But there are truly some great twists and turns of some actual real life drama that happens in this games club. You're just gonna have to listen to find out.
I'm looking forward to it. And then also, as long as we are talking about some of the Super NPC stuff, we just did on Video Games Comedy Show, we did a Space Solace, which is a sort of like drafting a program where we drafted games from the year 2001, and I was a guest on that.
Yes. So some of the most fun I ever have, which is just a new exercise to talk about video games. We mostly this Space Solace series, we look at a console and draft our favorite games in a fantasy football style. But this, since we've been running out of consoles, we started doing years. So 2001 turns out pretty good year for video games.
It's a pretty stacked year, and a pretty stacked list of podcasters on that one as well, including previous guests on this show: Jeremy Schmidt, Adrian Holmes, Tyler Schnupp, you, me. I don't consider myself a guest on this show, but I was on it.
You appear on all of
every
them.
episode. Yes, that's true. There's never been an episode of this show without me.
I was thinking about that the other day. Yep.
Although, there was one time when I got sick, and I think Mark just like recorded a 2-minute sorry,
Apology.
there's no episode, but I was still engineering the show.
Yes. Okay. That we can take that one to court.
Okay, good. Thank you. I'm glad that we can adjudicate that one. All right, that is going to thank you again, Connor, so much. This is
Thanks as always for
super
having
fun.
me.
Join our Discord. If you're not there, email us. I'll send you an invitation. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by Ape Betty. You can get more of his music by going to apebetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Conner McCabe, this is Patrick Eller saying thank you for listening.